Hi, it's Mr. Hammer. I'm here to take up questions from sections 8.1, 8.2, and 8.3. Here we go. 8.1. What does it mean when someone states, she gave it 110%? How can this comment be explained using math? Well, we'll understand that the most you could give in terms of your effort would be 100%. That would be everything. How could you actually give 10% more? Well, technically it wouldn't be possible, but people use that as an explanation for how somebody went really above and beyond what would normally be considered their maximum ability. Now, in terms of math, here's how it might work. Let's say you gave somebody a chocolate bar, and this chocolate bar had 10 pieces. So here's 10 pieces in your chocolate bar, and let's say that would be considered 100% of the chocolate that you had. Well, how could you give 110%? Well, here's how you would do that. You would simply have that same chocolate bar, that would be considered 100%, and you would add one more square. Then you would have 110%, assuming that this is what we call the baseline. We use this 100% as equal to 1, and anything we give above that, 100% of that chocolate bar would be considered more than 100%. Now let's go on to section 8.2. We're going to look first at 8.2, question number 7. Now, we are estimating. We are not multiplying. Even though it's important to understand that when you see 49 times of 150, now we're going to do question number 7 from section 8.2. Now, for all these questions, we're going to be using estimation. That means changing all these percentage marks here into numbers that we can do in our head. So let's look at A. Well, 49 is close to 50. So I'm going to say that we're looking for 50% of 150. And I know that's equal to 75. So my estimation would be around 75. Let's look at B. 31%. Well, I know I can say that's approximately equal to 30%. But let's say I can't do 30% in my head. Well, 30% is composed of 3 10%. 10 plus 10 plus 10. So let's try that. I know 10% of 40 equals 4. So 3 4s is going to be 12%, because we have 3 10s is 30%, and so that would be approximately 12, would be 31% of 40. Let's look at the next one. 149% of 60. Well, I'm going to make that 150. That's a number I can do much easier in my head. So I'm going to separate that into 100% and 50%. Knowing that if I add both of those up, I'm going to get 150%. Well, 100% of 60 is simply 60. 50% would be 30. So when I add those two up, I get 150%. And there is my estimation. Let's look at D. D is 98%. Well, 98% is very close to 100. 100% would be 54. So I'm going to say, let's drop 54 down by 1. That would be my estimation in this case. And the last 4 here. 90% of 44. 90% is not really a friendly number. Why don't I do this? Why don't I do 100% of 44 and subtract 10%? That would leave me with 90% of 44. So 10%, 100% rather, would be 44. I'm going to subtract 10%, which is going to be approximately equal to 4. It would be 4.4, but again, we're just estimating. So we don't care if there's a decimal. We're not looking for decimal numbers. We're looking for simple whole numbers. So I'm going to say 44 minus 4, which is 40, is going to be approximately 90% of 44. Let's look at F. F says 61%. Well, I'm going to first of all drop that down to 60, and then I'm going to further break it down to 50% and 10%. By finding 50% and 10% and adding them together, I'm going to get 60%. So 50% of 88 will be half, which will be 44. 10% of 88 will be 8.8. I don't like decimals for estimation, so I'm going to just round that up to 9. And then I'm going to add them up, and that'll give me 53. So 61% of 88 is approximately equal to 53. Let's look at G. G is 2% of 200. I'm going to do 1% and 1%, and then I'm going to add them, and that will get me 2%. So 1%, moving the decimal over 2 places, 1, 2, is going to give me 2. And the other 1% will give me 2. So 2% is going to be 4. Let's look at H. 5% of 81. 5% hard to figure out. But why not look at 10% and then divide that by 2? So we're going to find 10% and divide it by 2. So 10% of 81 is going to be equal to 8.1. And I'm going to make that an easy number, and I'm going to say it's approximately equal to 8. Then I'm going to divide it by 2, which is going to equal to 4. So 5% of 81 is approximately equal to 4. So we're taking up question number 9 from section 8.2. There were 341 pine and spruce trees in a woodlot. 122 were pine. What fraction of the trees were spruce? Well, let's understand the question. What fraction of the trees were spruce? So first of all, we need to have a fraction here. So we want to know spruce is on top. Spruce divided by what? Well, spruce divided by all the trees. That would give us the fraction of trees that were spruce. Well, we know all the trees that were pine and spruce were 341. We know 122 trees were pine. Well, that'll let us figure out how much spruce there was. So 341 total pine and spruce. We're going to subtract the 122 that was pine only, and that will leave us with spruce. So we will do 11 minus 2, that's 9. 3 minus 2 is 1. 3 minus 1 is 1. So there are 219 spruce trees. So the fraction of trees that were spruce is 219 over 341. The next question, B, estimate the percent. Well, now we're going to do estimation. So we added a little squiggly sign there. 219 is kind of close to 200. And 341, well, I could make it 350, but I don't know in my head what 200 divided by 350 is. But I kind of know what 200 divided by 300 is, because that's going to get down to 2 over 3 when we get rid of our zeros. And 2 over 3 is kind of like 67%. It's 2/3. So that's the estimate of the percentage of spruce trees, and that's question number 9. This is section 8.3, question number 4 on page 304. The regular price of a radio is $60. Find the sale price when the radio is on sale for 25%, 30%, and 40%. Again, we're going to do this without calculators, using estimation if we can. So 25%, we want to break that into smaller numbers. I'm going to break that into 10, 10, and 5%, because that's equal to my 25%. So 10%, 10%, and 5%. Well, 10% of 60 is 6. The other 10% of 60 is 6. Half of that is 3. So when you add those up, we get $15 in total. So $60, subtract my $15, that's my 25% off. And that's going to leave me with a price of $45. Now let's do 35%. Well, we know 10 is $6, so we're going to have 3 of those. We're going to have 10% times 3. 10% is $6, so we're going to $6 times 3, so we're going to have a total of $18 off of my main price. So I'm going to start with my overall total price, subtract my 18, and that's going to give me my sale price of $42. And in this case, $18 represents 30% off of the price. C is going to be 40% off. 40% off is 4 times 10%. So I'm going to do $6, which is 10% off, multiplied by 4, which is $24. So I'm going to be taking $24 off of my total price. So $60, subtract 24, that's going to leave me with $36, and that's going to be my total price here. And this time we took 40% off. Let me know by email if there's any other questions you want to take up before the test. This is Mr. Hammer signing off. Thank you very much.